as the industry at that point in time was currently constructed and based upon certain relationships that I had at one time that I didn't have, I kind of felt like it wasn't a hard blackball, but it was kind of a soft like, we good on you.
All of my, I just want all of my chips.
What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to Artistry Ascending right here at Traklife. Now, do me a favor. Go ahead, hit the subscribe button, like button, comment, share it with your friends. Of course, we're at the very start of it, so if you feel like you want to do that later after you get more acquainted, I understand. You know who I am. I go by the meticulously multi-talented Mark W. coming at you one more time. Yet again, how are you? And as you see the setup, don't do that to me, Mac. As you see the setup, we got a guest here today. And this isn't a regular guest. We have the man, the myth, the Opify go-getter, Curtis King himself.
What's up? Why? I ain't nobody special, man. I'll just be here. You started with Opify. You trying to get them boys out.
Hey, look, you have it in your merch. You have it in your merch store, so I got to bring it up.
I do. I need to get that.
I got to bring it up. Like, good, if you're not familiar, man, Curtis King, producer extraordinaire, rapper down to the nines, will jump on anybody's track. I know I got the proof. That's going to come out later.
He made me work.
That's a fact. Well, I make everybody work, bro. That's what I do. But he's also a content creator, and that's kind of the crux of what we're going to be talking about today. But before we do that, how are you doing, sir?
I'm doing well. I had to prepare myself for the LA traffic, but it wasn't even that bad.
That's a fact.
It's funny because this is my first time being out here post the entire
the pop out.
Yeah, the pop out.
Yeah.
Like, it's just, I think a lot of people that I'm having conversations with are having a strong sense of pride. Not that they didn't have it before, but it's just being more of a magnifying glass because the rest of the world gets to see it.
Absolutely.
And so coming home, like I'm originally from Carson, California.
Yes, sir.
So I spent a lot of time coming to downtown LA, doing hole in the wall shows, doing interviews and all these different things. And driving by the city felt a little bit different today. So I'm doing good. How you doing?
I can't complain, man. I'm having a real surreal moment. Because you know, I watched your show.
Right.
I'm gonna call it a show now, but back then, I want to say 2018, 17.
Right.
It was more or less a producer in his room just talking to the camera. Mm-hmm. And I remember seeing the switch when you got the house, like you were telling everybody, like we about to move. Yeah. And I didn't know what that was gonna look like. And I saw a new setup. And even then, even when you made that switch setup, it's not to where we see it now. Like there was still some evolution in that. Sure. But my wife brought me to your page. Like, I think you would like this dude. Mm-hmm. So I get into it, and then you threw the Kurtspirations. How'd you say it?
Yeah, that was that term.
Let me say this. I'm always envious of anybody who can put their name into something that's already there. I have a nickname for him. I say it on his joint all the time. Kurtstradamus.
Kurtstradamus. Oh my
Kurtstradamus.
Lately, I've been getting it right.
Bruh. Yeah. And we're going to get into that. Sure. But so for me, it's surreal to see you sitting right here and we actually get to chop it up face to face. Because most of the time we just clown each other. Speaking of which,
sir, so I show the utmost respect anytime you are in my live stream.
Yeah, okay, look, so he has this segment
I don't know what he is
where he allows artists to be on his platform and
critique my beats.
Critique my beats. And you can do so by going to critiquemybeats.com or is it Curtis King?
I ain't gonna lie to you. Before you start promoting, I don't know how much longer I'm gonna do it.
Say word.
We can talk about that, but I don't know how much longer I'm gonna do it.
Let me set this up because
you about to give me a hell of a cosign right now, and they about to go to that website, and
it's gonna be down. Damn. Okay, so let me just say it from this point of view. Then
I had.
He had. God damn. Fucking up my whole train of thought.
I'm sorry.
No, you straight. So he has this Critique My Beats platform where artists can send in their beats, their songs. And let me make this straight. It's not just hip hop.
No.
It's all genres, which is a beautiful thing. Right. It actually exposes people to are only hip hop heads to another side of music and actually give you a little bit of insight as to how you can use it for your own music.
Sure.
So I go into this Critique My Beat battle and I just did it out of like, I'm supporting my man. So I threw in the 30, it's $30 and it's $50 for two, right?
For two, yeah.
And again, this is probably not going to be relevant by the time this comes out, but either way it goes, I throw it in and I really just wanted to be a part of the conversation. In one of the critiques, he tells one of my mans, like, you're a little hype. You talking to the ladies. You want to talk to them like you in your ear. And he gets to talking and he's giving an example, but he's whispering in this man's ear while he's talking.
First of all, how do you whisper in some man's ear digitally? I'm whispering in a microphone that has all kind of different people listening.
Right.
So
But
it's not a particular.
who?
It's different when you say that out in the interview. You say I'm whispering in the man's ear. I wasn't whispering that man. I don't even know what that man's name is.
But look, you were addressing this man, giving him critiques.
Fake news. Fake news. Fake news. That's all it is.
Nah. And then, so anyway, everybody in the chat was jumping on my side with that one. Hey, yo.
You turned them against me, bro.
I did.
You turned them against me. They probably because we look alike. They probably thought it was me coming in there and then doing a switch
already.
around.
Let me talk about that real quick. Because you've blown up, and this is a good segue, because you've been getting a lot more notice, I've been called, you look like Curtis King more often this year than I have ever gotten in my life. Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, you're not looking at a mirror.
Not at all.
He is clearly more light-skinned than I am. We are both part of the LSNA.
What is the LSNA?
You ain't never heard me say the LSNA?
No, what is
it's the Light Skinned Niggas Association. So, all right. Yeah, it's the Light Skinned Niggas Association.
Honorary member. My bad. Go ahead. Honorary member.
You remember, use it. I feel free to use my DJ is part of the LSNA as well.
Right.
He's the DJ Swivel.
Right.
But all the same, I think it's because of your presence, obviously because of the Spotify shift. And is it all streaming platforms that you took your music off?
All streaming. Unless you consider Bandcamp, it has the ability to stream, right?
Right.
But it's not a streaming platform. So Apple, any of the main ones, I took my music off of there, I believe in November of last year.
Right.
Yeah.
November was a pivotal time for a lot of people.
Man,
I won't get into my own personal thing about that. But all the same, because you started making that switch and more recently because of the battle, you've been popping up more. So everybody's now comparing me to you. Like even musically, I'm like, wow, that's a trip. Wait till y'all hear the track. So today's episode, now we got all the niceties out of the way. I want to make sure I give you your flowers. I've been following your career. I'm definitely absorb a lot of what you give to the independent artist community,
right?
The DIYers specifically, and we'll get into that. But what I want to talk about today is the content creator journey. Now it was two posts that you did. Okay. One where you did a reactionary to Schoolboy Q.
Right.
Where he was talking about artists or rappers more specifically.
He was fed up.
He was. And I understand where he's coming from because I think we both come from that ilk where it's like, my focus is the music. That's where I want to put my attention. Nowadays, we can't do that. Followed up with your second post, which was more intimate. And I like how you addressed the camera, which was music artists can't just do that anymore.
Right.
And you addressed a lot of things on that. But what I want to ask, as frustrating as it is to make money at making music with the advent of social media, all that goodness, what made you make the switch to a full-time content creator?
You know what's funny about just the conversation of artists being content creators, rappers being content creators? That was the same conversation I had when I started off on my YouTube journey. And I was nervous like anybody else about what this would look like.
Absolutely.
All I know is that I'm gonna give you exclusive, as the industry at that point in time was currently constructed and based upon certain relationships that I had at one time that I didn't have, I kind of felt like it wasn't a hard blackball, but it was kind of a soft like, we good on you. And so it was a point in time where it was like my branding was really strong because I had this whole, like I had the flat top, I had the baby Sinbad, and that was the reason people started remembering me.
And then you dyed the flat top?
I dyed the flat top. I went all the way in. And so,
you were all the way Sinbad with
I always had a love for marketing, right? That was my second love after music. I went to Orange Coast College and I met a professor.
Okay.
Yeah, I went to Orange Coast College, man, and I was supposed to be going for music, couldn't get into music classes, ended up taking marketing classes, advertising, and got my marketing certificate from there from just finishing this set amount of classes. And it just showed me that I've had a passion for things like fonts. I didn't know there was a typography psychology. I didn't know it was a color psychology. So to bring all of that together, it's not like I just woke up one day and said, I'm going to create content. Even the title content creator wasn't a thing in 2008, 2009 when I think I really started doing like content, and I was doing stuff on MySpace and all these other places. But
MySpace,
MySpace was one of the first ones. You know,
that was the one.
So
or Black Planet for those who really know.
No, for real. But you know what? I really didn't start launching off, I say, until about 2010, 11 on my own YouTube channel, because I felt like I was kind of getting pushed off to the side, or opportunities weren't necessarily lining up for me as much anymore.
When you say push off to the side, like somebody had it out for you, or?
I don't think nobody had it out for me. I just think that the industry was shifting, and I represented sort of like an older artist archetype or avatar, and I think I didn't know how to shut up. Like
You spoke your mind.
I spoke my mind, and you do that in certain rooms.
Absolutely. Yeah, no.
Out of there without knowing the code. I didn't know there was a code like that. In term, I know the code as it appears to, like growing up in Carson, growing up in Long Beach. I understand there's different codes.
Right. We
growing
talk
up
about that
down
code
like,
right now.
All these different growing up places in the IE like Rialto and San Bernardino. I understand that code, industry code, and ways that you can offend people. I didn't understand that, and
not even realize you've offended them.
Not even realize it. Yeah. That's one aspect of it. The second aspect of it is I genuinely, as good as I was doing for my marketing, did not know how to run a business as an artist.
Okay.
And I didn't know that going into it, but I was like, all right, I can't get interviews the way that I wanted to at the same outlets. I'm not getting booked for shows at the same places I was getting booked for. I'm not getting on the blogs at the time. So this is like a little before, like 2013-ish.
Okay.
I'm not getting on blogs anymore. All of these different outlets are being shut down. I'm like, well, what am I going to do? Well, do it yourself. And so I started my YouTube channel. That's why it's my branding. I started my YouTube channel, and I just started doing everything that I could to build that platform, because I had a feeling that if I built that platform, it was going to not only teach me, not only give me another platform my music probably couldn't reach on its own, because it's just music, it's just one medium, but also teach me how to run a business. And it did. Because of that YouTube, I taught YouTube courses and sold that. I taught, I learned email marketing. I learned, how to run a funnel and all these different things that just going through music, that sounds like extra work. But when you're in the YouTube space and you're looking at your peers, this is regular.
Right.
So I learned how to run a business over the next 9 years, still making music. And I don't want to fast forward too much because I know you want to talk about that.
Oh, no, you're good. You're good.
Now, today, I'm at a place where, as an independent artist, I'm running my business better than I ever did before. And certain things don't make sense. Streaming is one of them. As much as the economy has shifted, as much as eggs have gone on. I know you didn't went to the store and seen the eggs.
My wife's a vegan, so eggs are not in the house. But yeah,
even the vegan just eggs, even the vegan,
the little liquid, the yellow liquid,
everything gas is expensive. So if that's the case, I'm looking at this like, how do you think that this is an appropriate model to compensate the people that are the foundation of your platform? I've always felt like that, so I never really leaned into streaming the way that I know that I could have, because I didn't believe in the model. Then Spotify did that 1,000 stream threshold.
Yo, that is something that kills. It kills so much, especially for somebody like myself. And I do want to get into that for a second. So I don't have a huge pull for my music like that. For somebody like a Russell, or even for yourself for that matter, it's like, there is a certain fan base that you have to have in order to meet where each one of your songs, because they switched it up again. Yeah. It was 1,000 stream threshold, but then it was for each one of your songs. I do have a catalog. I know one project ain't gonna hit 1,000 streams.
How about this? Add on top of that, they get to determine
that part.
The unique listeners. Right. So for those who don't know, like, there's a certain amount of unique listeners. It can't be just 5 of your friends listening to your music up until it gets to 1,000. It has to be a certain amount of unique listens before they start counting it towards that. And then after that, you don't get paid for all the work that you did before. You get paid for what you do after that.
Exactly.
This doesn't make any sense.
It's a trip.
For us, at least.
No, it doesn't. Because, and I'll say this, I recently took all my songs off of streaming platforms.
Really?
And this was like maybe 2 weeks, 2 weeks ago. Oh no, a month ago now.
Yeah.
But I took all my songs down because it's happened twice. First time, I released a song called Feels Like. And that's the first song I got within 2 or 3 months where it did numbers, where a song of mine that had 30,000 streams within a matter of like 6 months.
Right.
But this one, in a matter of 2 months or maybe even a month, it had 30,000 streams.
Right.
I get flagged, and you know this. But Spotify doesn't tell you directly. They tell you through your distributor. So DistroKid tells me there's a suspicious play count. Well, I ain't done nothing. I get this flag. Okay, that's just one off. They're not taking it down. It happened again recently, where one of my songs with me and my homeboy Shylight, rest in peace, all my chips gets the same flag. I noticed it was a bot company. And this is something you might not know, and I'm gonna deviate a little bit. I'm sorry, we're gonna get back on track. But bot companies have the same access that he and I have to your song. They can take your song and put it on their tester bot farms, and then now you have fictitious streams.
Yeah.
And I realized like I have no control over what my song is going to do. And at any given moment, my song could be lumped up into these streaming farms where I don't do anything malicious on my end, but they do it.
Any given day. You're running
at any given moment.
We're supposed to be running a successful business. Businesses need things like transparency between your third-party companies that you're using.
Absolutely.
Hey, if there's something that I'm doing, let me know so I can alleviate this, because this is going to cut the bottom line in my ability to conduct proper business. Hey, I would love to have the emails.
Yeah, you've been saying that for a long time. Like who is actually listening to this?
What business operates without having any kind of contact with their customer base?
Yeah.
What happens when, a mom and pop restaurant has to shut down because the health inspector, or has to shut down because of the air conditioning breaking down? They need to contact the people who come there as regulars.
Yeah.
And so I look at that as like, I would not have seen it like that had I still been coming from the artist perspective, because I wasn't a business at that time. Let me tell you this. When I started seeing a threshold, when I started seeing the way that I felt like, you can't give Spotify all the credit. When I started seeing more successful artists getting excited about the threshold and then taking their anger towards the other artists, the artists that weren't, because the other artists were like, I should get paid. And they were like, no, you're the reason I don't get paid enough. I was like, you remember I talked about codes earlier?
Yeah.
I know when I'm getting hustled.
Right.
Because if you got me fighting against my peers,
yeah,
who are convinced that we're not peers because they got more streams.
Yeah, they got more numbers.
I didn't know somebody run your business. And your streams don't intimidate me. I know somebody else got their hand. I know everything has a reason for existing the way it does. I'm looking over your head.
Yeah.
Let's talk about Daniel Ick. Let's talk about Daniel Ick. You know what I'm saying? The owner of Spotify.
Thank you for doing that on this platform. He does it all the time on his platform.
But I'm like, meanwhile, we're sitting up here talking about, man, it's all about the competition. Yeah, that's right. You should be. If you can't get 1,000 streams, what are you? Here's the funny thing about that people weren't recognizing. Because I had this conversation with somebody I highly respect, RJ Payne, because he was like, man, I respect RJ Payne. Yeah.
Oh shit.
He was on Twitter talking about this, right? He was like, I respect your decision and I wish you all the best, but he's like, it's not something I can see myself doing because my catalog is extensive. And he said, with this extensive catalog, that's money that I could be making passive income from. You just told me an example of how 2 songs got removed without proper evidence to tell you why they got removed.
Absolutely.
Hey, trust our word on it.
And that's something, as a business owner, you can't live with. You have to be able to track that metric and be able to say, this is why this is happening. So
to bring that point home with RJ Payne, I told him, I said, here's the part that I don't think people are recognizing with this 1,000 stream threshold, because we're disappointed in Spotify because they should know better. They're a bigger company. Companies like Deezer went and wiped out damn near 500,000 songs off their platform.
We were talking about it here.
26 million songs, I think it was.
We seen that here. We were talking about it like, who?
Exactly, Deezer. Nobody. Bro, your music on Deezer though?
Right.
Nobody.
Who the hell is
you're
listening
not even
to
a
Deezer?
main character in here. Move to the side. You know that meme with the Family Guys? It's like, put the hand in. It's like, what are you doing?
It's Meg. I told Deezer's Meg.
I told Payne, I said, think about what you just said right now. Regardless if you think that you're a bigger artist or not, you're an artist that is getting compensated for traffic that you're driving from your other mediums to draw on there. Meanwhile, they're making 100% of the income. Well, they're making their percentages based upon whatever their deal is with the oligarchy, the 3 major labels. They're getting all of that money for the advertisements, whatever events they may throw. Right. And meanwhile, you look at somebody like an RJ Payne. That's my guy. I love his music. I love his lyricism.
Oh my God.
That catalog starts to stretch. The more stuff he releases, the more certain projects become like, oh no, my super fans only know about this one.
Right.
What happens if you get a song removed? You know what happens with these with Spotify? Get the song removed. Say you did take a screenshot of your ISRC number, which is basically like your fingerprint, your barcode, basically. Say you did screenshot that and re-uploaded it, and then you at least get the royalties from your last stuff.
Right.
They can now deny the ISRC number because that there is theirs. Like for DistroKid that provides they can revoke it. So now think about this. You got a song with 30,000 streams, you re-upload it. You're now not on the playlist that you were on before that were helping to contribute to that. I think that said 60% of streams come from being on playlists.
Absolutely.
So you're not on the playlist. You can't get access to it now that you've been flagged. Now you're looking at an older catalog that you have to now push like it's a newer catalog.
Right.
Meanwhile, you got newer music. This just makes it to where, how do I feel in control of my business if somebody has to make me focus on other parts of my business because they're messing it up, because they can't figure out a better model. My thing is this: if there's so much botting going on Spotify, why doesn't Spotify attack the playlist first?
Absolutely.
If that is the place.
Well, we know what that's about.
Well, of course we do, yeah.
We know what that's about because it feeds their bottom line.
I know
and they
when
can
I'm getting
control
hustled.
that narrative.
I know when I'm getting hustled. Hey, bro, can I cuss on here?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay. Hey, bro, calm all that shit down.
Right.
I'm gonna let my bot homies come in here and get theirs though.
Absolutely. Don't bring in yours.
Come on now. Like,
I got my own goon squad.
What's the dude's name? Roar. It's
You talking about the German cat? Not German cat.
Swedish
cat.
Sweden producer, composer named something Roar.
Roar, I think, is enough, but
his last name is Roar, right?
Yeah.
But he's in Sweden where Spotify's at, has 650
More
different
than-
profiles.
and he
on
has
Spotify.
more streams accumulated than Prince, Michael Jackson,
ABBA, Elton John. What are we talking about?
and he has 650 different profiles.
And then when you look at his songs on Spotify, one will have millions and millions and millions of streams. You go on YouTube, that same one will have 100 plays.
That
on
makes
YouTube.
no sense.
We know
There's a
because
disconnect.
we've done business.
Right.
We know, like, all right, if something's moving here on Spotify,
Right.
it's probably moving on the socials. It's probably moving on YouTube.
Bruh.
They're playing in our face. So my thing is, you know what? Have your fun. Have at it. Me as somebody who understands what I need to run a business, not even talking about the mental health, the peace of mind that I need. I don't need y'all playing with my money.
Yeah.
So I say, you know
And
what?
telling me it's one thing and not another.
I saw a quote the other day that said, complaining is a leakage of power.
If I had one of your buttons here, I'd, you know what I mean?
Complaining is a leakage of power. And I always thought about that because I never liked the idea of ever feeling like a victim, no matter what in life, as a man.
Absolutely,
I
yeah.
hate the idea of ever feeling like a victim, even if I am victimized of some situation.
You can't use that as an excuse
never.
as to why something did. You can only be a victim for so long.
So I look at them and I'm like, what are y'all doing for me that I can't do for myself?
Yeah.
Why do I need Spotify? Why do I need Apple Music to talk to my fans? Oh, because of convenience?
Yo, when I made that switch, now I'm getting hit with that convenience piece.
Yeah.
And I send them to Bandcamp and all that goodness. But you said something about talking to your fans, and I want to shift the conversation a little
Sure.
bit. Your DIY community. You got the book here, The Prosperous Hip Hop
Yes,
Producer. I just want to let y'all know, this was sitting in my cart last night. I was looking at my funds like, let me not get that right now. But this man walked in with the book, so I appreciate you gifting me.
Yeah,
This is a gift, right? I can take this home with me. Man,
That's
I
a
appreciate
prop, man. You got to get that back after this interview.
Well, look, y'all don't see it, but all these pages is blank. This is a prop. No, I'm fucking with you. But yeah, I appreciate you giving me this. But this speaks to, because I don't want to jump the gun because that's another conversation.
It's all good.
But this speaks to your community DIYers.
Right.
What does DIY, obviously do it for yourself, do it yourself. But what does that mean for somebody like you?
Initially, for me, the definition came to mind that it's not about wanting to do everything yourself. I look at what you're doing here and I know why it looks so good. It's because you have the synergy of people with common goals. That is undeniably the better scenario.
Yeah.
However, realistically, for a lot of people,
Right.
when you start off on a journey to do something and people don't think that you're that good, which it was for me in the beginning, people didn't think I'd rap that good. My beats wasn't that good.
We ain't gonna get into my story too.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's I'm in the same page.
That's
Go
what
ahead.
I'm saying. Like, when people don't gravitate that way, or even like when they're not there to do that, when nobody's there to help you, only one person is there, and that is you. Help yourself. So my thing is, it's not about empowering people to try to, be the guy in a cartoon who used to play the drums and
do all the
and
instruments by
harmonica.
themselves.
That
And
is
they got
not
the little
fun.
symbols in between his thighs.
Yeah, exactly. That was kind of crazy, but I had to get you
Hey,
back. I had to get you back.
No, look. Hold on, real quick. You gonna learn
Whispering in
this.
the ears and all of this. Symbols on the thighs is crazy. I didn't even see
symbols in
that.
the thighs, you know what I'm saying?
I was
Keep
just
your
looking
legs
at the top
together.
of the screen. I didn't even see all that.
Hey, look, you have
Crazy.
nothing. Here's the thing. You gonna learn this about me. I don't play the pause game. I don't.
Pause.
Yeah, I got you. But that's where you're going with it. Because that's what I alluded to with whispering in the man's ear.
I just said crazy.
Right.
You started the interview off like that too.
I sure did.
I knew it was gonna be a good day. But the DIYers, man, I look at it and I'm like, First of all, I just saw it from my own story. My own story was I did teach myself really early. In them early days of my grandmother's patio in Carson, in Delamo, California, I was sitting there and I was editing my own videos, not because I was dope, but because I just kind of knew my way around it. Absolutely. I was editing my own music. I wasn't that good, but I kind of knew my way around computers really good. Even trying to figure out how to take a PlayStation game called MTV Music Generator, where I made beats on it. How do I get that to sound as good quality as it does on the Zenith? On the Zenith TV as much as it is inside the computer, because bro, I didn't have in those days I was doing things like taking a microphone and putting it up to the Zenith TV, which didn't have, it was nothing but bass.
Oh my God.
Nothing but bass and static. And so
look, everybody was not millennial. Zenith, this was the big booty TV?
Big booty TV.
So listen,
for sure.
Y'all don't understand this because you only seen the flats. Our TVs had ass. Like, you know what I'm saying? That had that Porsche ass.
Sure did.
There was a shelf life on that back end of it. Mm-hmm. That was a different time era.
You had to go call somebody to move the TV.
You know what I'm saying? Like you had to have, you know how you call somebody to help you move? You had to call somebody to help you move your TV.
Yeah. Hey bro, I need your help moving this TV. Where at? To the next room.
Hey, say
not even downstairs, to the next room.
To the next room.
But that was my setup on the patio. And mind you, when people see photos of the patio, I wish I would have took more photos, but my grandparents, it was their house. All they did was put junk in there from like the 90s and the 80s. Yeah. And so I literally gutted it out to try to turn it into a studio. But I never looked at that as like, DIY. I didn't know no better. I looked at that as like, damn, I finally have a space where I could be as creative as I want. Make whatever kind of music that I want. And nobody can tell me I can do anything. Y'all know, I'm going to do it myself. Whatever it is. I listened to the new Outkast album, Speaker Box Love Below at that time. And I was like, I want to do something like Andre 3000's doing. Yeah. And I could do it in that room. So that DIY spirit was always in me from the very beginning. I couldn't afford going to the Guitar Center and getting a sound effects DVD. So instead, I had shoe boxes that I would put my fingers over the top of and act like we're walking in skits and all of that. So that's my spirit.
The little Foley creation.
That's my spirit from the beginning. And that's why, like, anything that you see that has a spirit of innovation, that's been me since a kid. So now, fast forward, it's crazy because I just had a call with Glasses Malone last week. And
small flex.
Man, I say that only to say, like, man, I'm appreciative of folks like that because he was able to give me some of the most solid advice. And I think a lot of people would, see my content, see the way that I am, and they may not understand like why me and him have so many things in common as men, but I go to him for mentorship and ask him questions. And one thing he said is, I think what you don't understand, Curtis, even though you're not a street dude, the DIY mantra, the DIY mentality is something that appeals across the board because there's a lot of folks trying to make the most out of their environments.
And I'm going to say this personally and it falls on them. Absolutely. For me personally, I didn't have that title to give it was DIY, but, and I'm sure you share this notion. I had this crazy notion when I was younger, even though I got this 512 megabyte computer, I got this little $100 Sterling microphone in my closet with the coat hanger filter. I had this crazy notion, like I can make this sound like it came from a major studio. That's
goosebumps.
my whole
I got
thing.
Goosebumps just thinking about that. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like you sitting like, no, there's nothing that they don't have that I have already. I can make this obviously expensive gear. You get a quality sound, but having without makes you an even better producer when you do have it. For sure. And I think you've really done that in your shown like, look, this is, and this is another conversation when people don't do their homework. But when you see somebody come from, like you said, their grandparents, it was a grandparents patio. Yeah. When you come from the patio and now you're in your setup you got now, it's like, yo, you can get here if you just believe in your work or you have this crazy notion.
I put up a tweet the other day and I 1000% agree with you. I put up a tweet the other day because I think about, the way that even as divorced parents, the way that my mom and my pops were able to, first of all, co-parent and how they were able to kind of like shield me from the realities of some things and not shield me from the other ones financially, mostly things, right? So
they shielded you from the financial or didn't?
Couldn't, because I could see, I had eyes, right?
Right.
But I think back to those times and I'm like, as much as somebody remembers me from the patio where I'm still in my teens doing this.
Trying to figure it out.
I remember me from 6, 7, 8.
Yeah.
And I'm like, no, you've always been this throughout the entire process. You've seen your mama do these things, right? I've seen my pops, he used to have a photo lab in Compton.
That's deep.
Pops used to have a photo lab in Compton. He used to be, my pops used to do he used to be called was a insurance adjuster.
Okay.
Where basically like, it's like somebody, anytime there was an accident, somebody would call him up.
And he'd come out
there, assess it, take pictures and all of that. And so I remember like when he opened up his photo lab, seeing him go from like a small cubicle space that he had in I think it was in Long Beach, and then seeing my pops go and build a photo lab after the LA riots, mind you, build a photo lab in Compton after all of the businesses around there. Like there was what was the name of that grocery store? Granberries. What was it called? Something. I forget the name of it.
In Carson?
No, it was in Compton.
Oh, in Compton. Yeah, I didn't spend a lot. I'm an Inglewood kid. So
anybody who knows way back when, it was like a shopping center and it was right next to a Yoshinoya and it was like a CD spot over there. And Pops had me over there. And I remember seeing him build that business. And I remember when he eventually closed that business and then he went back to school to become a professor. So it's like...
So this entrepreneurial spirit has been around. I have the same story. And So back to people thinking we're the same people.
We're going to really call us each other
absolutely,
now they're going to really mix us up. Damn,
I'm not going to say his name on this. It's kind of the same, but not really. It's a different space. So... Something else that we had in common, I pointed out on your Instagram when you were talking about your moms. Your mom's a preacher, right?
Or she's ordained. She's ordained. Yeah.
So my pops is a pastor, and I pointed you to the that post where he's preaching like, "Yo, are you sure we not cousins?"
That's what we might be,
because my pops built. I saw the same thing.
Yeah,
my pops had a business. It was called Fame. It's called Fame Renaissance now.
Okay,
but it was out of First Name Church.
Right.
And he got a small business loan that the church ended up giving him. It was like $50,000. He was working out of a cubicle, like one of them trailer cubicles in the back of a house. He then took that into, which is now the Allen House. All my Fame people understand what I'm talking about.
Right.
He took the business into the Allen House. Then he got another house where he had his business, and they took over that entire piece. Then they moved on Adams and 18th Street, where they took a condemned building and it was like 12 stories, I think, bought off that whole building. And I get to watch that in real time.
Bro, so
that entrepreneurial spirit is like, it kind of gives way to the DIY. Like you understand what that takes.
Okay, I'm gonna add another one since you brought my mom up, man.
Yeah.
First of all, even more recently, my mom, I saw her last year fight through cancer and beat it.
Bless.
And then go back out on Mother's Day this year and inspire other mothers.
Yeah.
Like you could, mama, you could spend your time just thanking God and focusing on your work and your job. And, my two younger sisters, she's like, I got to get back out here and I got to talk to the people. That's what she was doing before. But I've seen moms too. Moms have me in every hood Baptist church you can think of. I promise you. Moms will tell me stories like now. It's funny. Her name is Rochelle.
Okay.
Back in the day, she Roro.
Shout out to Roro.
Roro. I be looking at photos. I remember one time, I never forget, a little side story.
Yeah.
I'm looking through her, like my grandfather's CD, his vinyl collection. And I see a bunch of CDs and I'm like, this must be my mom's. A bunch of tapes. I found a cassette tape of, I think it was a Scarface to Fix. And I was like, hey, mama, is this yours?
Yeah, for real.
And she said, I like the piano on it. You lying. You don't like no piano.
Right.
With Scarface. So I say that to say that.
I got that story on that one.
Look, I seen moms go from like, I done been to the type of churches that, and some of these hood churches that said, we counted the money today and we don't think that's not what God had in mind. There's a number we trying to reach. You know what?
Y'all gotta understand.
Ushers, I need y'all to lock the doors back there because I feel like we got stubborn souls inside here. We got stubborn souls.
Oh, my God.
And then the organ players start playing.
Yeah.
That's my mom. My mom ended up being the one playing like, oh,
your mom played the organ?
My mom's played the piano for over 40 plus years.
Oh, hell yeah.
So like, she didn't pass it to me.
I was going to say, I heard you say recently you don't get down on the keys
one finger
like
at a time. That's me, but like.
Blasphemy. Go ahead.
It's crazy. But I mean, it's crazy because mom's, once again, she was always working. If it wasn't church, she was working at all these different jobs that she had based upon her major. But I seen moms go from, being a secretary for an attorney. I've seen my moms work in the records section of Huntington Park Police Department. She wasn't an officer. She was in the office. I saw her, expose me to some of the crazy stuff that, happens in them kind of environments. But I say all that to say I've seen her go from that. So she was the first person I saw write a book. She wrote a book called Understanding the Heart of God Through Prayer. And I saw her sit down and day by day add another chapter. That's why that book right there is there. She don't even know that. That's why that book right there even exists, because I
we
saw
got
somebody in my life to do it.
That's what I'm talking about.
I think you helped me understand something. Zooming out, there's two different perspectives going on. Obviously, we have our own nuance and with our families, but
Absolutely.
we're the generation of kids that came up in school with them posters that was like, believe in yourself. You can do anything that you want to do.
Yeah.
I go into schools today, them posters are not there as much. The ones we came up on.
No, absolutely. Yeah.
I see some inspiration, but I see that a lot of those posters are not there as much. Even like the cartoons weren't as edgy. Captain Planet and all these different, they were about having a message.
Absolutely.
So you add the media, you add our cartoons, you add all the stuff that we were exposed to, plus having an air of entrepreneurs who didn't do it for the gram.
They did it because
they wanted to run a business. I think we're exposed to that and exposed to that. I think that is kind of a microcosm of why you're 80s baby, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
80s babies is different.
We're only a year apart.
80s babies are different.
Let me take a quick break to tell you about today's sponsor, Traklife Music. Traklife is a platform for music artists to build and elevate their brand with high quality content and featured opportunities. Traklife has more than a few things to offer, like live session video shoots, where an artist can come in, perform 2 songs of their choice right here at the Traklife studio in Los Angeles for a high quality produced music video edit. Now this is good for social media and personal content. Not only that, but also music playlisting, radio play on iHeartRadio, editorial features, artist video interviews, and so much more. Subscribe to join the community and submit your music for a chance to be featured for thousands of fans. You can always learn more by visiting the link in the description of this video. Now, let's get back into today's episode.
We're different, man.
Because we had to watch. I mean, well, Kendrick says it all the time. Like, we the product of the crack era.
Yeah.
And coming out of that, you spoke on the riots. My pops was very instrumental in that time. And I got to watch him bust up crack houses.
Yeah.
Like, he has a forever pass in the jungles because of the work he did.
Right.
And it's watching those things and then him unknowingly infusing that into me, and the same for your parents, unknowingly giving that to you. But what I think you do is you knowingly infuse these entrepreneurial things to your audience. But I want to ask, as far as your audience goes, now, obviously you started DIY with the music umbrella. How have you seen that transposed now? Like, how's your community evolved in that space?
Let me make sure I give props to my guy. He goes by Pac. He's produced by Pac. He is the brilliant marketing mind that he's a marketing savant. And he's the one that was able to kind of like help me specifically brand it as DIYers.
Okay.
Like I kept saying it. I wasn't really thinking of it, but he was like, no, bro, this is the bigger vision I see for it. And because of his conversations, because of us talking about these things, they helped me to get more clarity in a better direction of where to take this. So it ended up being like, I was doing videos where, for instance, I linked up with first of all, I didn't see a lot of independent music content at that time when I started. Everybody,
you're right. It wasn't geared towards that.
I'm making content out about the folks who are signed, but nobody was making anything that could help independent artists except for people who weren't independent artists. Right. It was just some guy that jumped up and is like, the problem with you independent artists is that you need to learn how to talk to people.
Yeah.
Get your goofy ass out of here. Like, we don't need you giving us advice when you don't know what it's like to put together a song.
You're talking to us like we're infants.
You're talking down. That's the point. You're talking down to us. Nobody's like, I see it now with my son, and because my son is on the spectrum, and he has like a ABA therapist.
By the way, I just want to tell you in person, the song you have with your son, like I told you, bro, like I said it in the comment, you'll probably see it. Like, I ain't crying.
No,
I got something in both my eyes.
I for sure dropped it.
Bruh, I don't understand. And that's what I have to say about your music. Like, that's how I know there's something more to it. Like, there is real feeling into that. And we'll get into that after you finish your speech. I want you to hold on to that.
Sure.
That song, I don't have a kid.
Yeah.
And I don't know too many people on the spectrum, but just hearing you talk about the story of finding out your wife, how she went through her turmoil, going to the hospital, she pulling through, but now you have to deal with an autistic son. And I say, I don't mean to say deal with, but it's a matter of, and you said it in the song, like, I get to, why not me?
I said in the song, I said, I was sitting in the living room asking God why, and he asked me, who would you rather that I give him to?
Right.
And it's crazy because I saw an interview with a therapist. I forget the therapist's name. He was talking to OT Genesis about his son, who's also on the spectrum. And it's the same thing he said was that, who would you rather it be for? You guys are the perfect couple for that. My wife is somebody who was like, she's a super empath, super sensitive, and he needs that kind of care.
Again,
I'm
I
somebody
think we're the
that
same person. My wife's an empath as well.
right. So I'm the type of person where it's like, I don't look at the glass being half empty. I'm looking at it always being half full. And so he's going to need that balancing act.
Yeah.
So
I just wanted to say that was beautiful. I didn't want to cut you off.
No, you good, you good. So the point I was making with the therapist is that we've gone through a few different therapists, and the one that actually works is the one that comes down to his level and talks to him right to his eye.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have autism. That's fine. But that doesn't mean that I talk to you like you don't understand anything.
Right.
And so the respect that she has, the care that the ABA therapist, like that's the kind of thing that makes me understand the impact that has ultimately on us and how we deliver our messages. And so when it comes to my audience in the DIY, one thing I always want to make sure is that they first recognize that I'm not a guy talking about something I haven't done.
Right.
I'm also not a guy that's talking about something I'm no longer doing.
Gotcha.
Because I think a lot of folks will look at me and be like, this information is dated. When was the last time you used it? Last week.
Right, exactly.
And I got the results. I got the analytics for you. So that's the part of it that I didn't I struggle with that, bro. And I wonder how much, you've had that conversation, because I struggle with the balance when I seen like Joe Budden and I seen Gilded Kid, and they kind of like got that bag. And they were like, nah, this is a lot less stress to deal with. Right. And I understand, but a part of me was like, but how do you let go of the love? If that's the case. Because I couldn't let go. Like I'll tell you this, I have better energy today because I got to work on music last night.
Yeah.
It wasn't
get it out the
system. I have to be creative. Shout out to my one of my last managers, Salas. He used to tell me, he said, bro, he said, you need to understand, you're not just a rapper, Curtis. You're not just a producer. At the end of the day, you are a creative.
Yeah.
Under that umbrella, I have the ability and the permission to do all the things that I want to do.
See, that's something that I'm learning and also had to learn.
Sure.
Where we're not just, and I don't want to say this because it was on Drake's profile, but we're not just one trick ponies. If you have the notion to create something,
right,
you can create anything that you envision for it to be. And I got hung up on, well, I got to make these words like jump off the page. But then when you get into it, there's so many lanes you can get into if you have the creative notion. And that leads me to this question is, how has being in this content creator space affected creating music? Because I know you have.
That's heavy.
Oh yeah, already. But you can make it long or you can make it short. But
how we on time? We get on time. I don't want to go.
I mean, it's up to you. I want to make sure that you can get the other things. But I do want to know like how this content creator space. Because for me personally, I got into audio engineering, so I got to sit in studios with a lot of people, and I got to listen to their ideas. I got to put my 2 cents sometimes, but for the most part, I get to listen to their ideas and see how I can work them for myself. Shooting video for myself, like, if I made a song like this, I could shoot it like, because I talked about that on somebody's music video, like, yo, that shit's boring. Like, the song is good. I want to see something along with that. That affected how I wrote songs. How did the content creator space specifically affect not so much the marketing, because we know how that happens.
Right.
But the actual creation,
I was worried about how it would affect my music when I thought about one of my favorite artists in Exhibit. And this is no disrespect to the OG. I love everything that he's done before and after what I'm getting ready to say. I did notice that when he went into the space of Pimp My Ride, there was a certain level of like clarity and media training that occurred. And I think it's sometimes hard to turn off the overpronunciation. I'm doing it now.
Right.
It's sometimes hard to turn off the overpronunciation and just have those kind of like, shout out to the homie Amana Mario, we'll call like the bedroom conversations you have with your wife. Yeah. That's your real voice. It's not your Curtis King or CurtisKing.com. It's not that. It's your
hey, bro, that's my little whole slogan that I do. Like, that's not how I talk on a regular basis.
So when I saw Exhibit's music had shifted after that, I thought to myself, I wonder how much that has to do with being in the media space.
Okay.
That was just a weird thought that I had to myself.
That's a good one though.
Not trying to center him out, because I think that I watched Pimp My Ride. I watched all what you see is what you get. And he's one of my favorites, right? But when I saw that I wondered if it was a matter of like, maybe it's when you get so big that the things that you were kind of like focused on as a youth, you got way too much now to focus on it. You kind of, you just evolved to another person. I don't know what it was, but I always had that thought in my head, and it's so random. But however, when I went into the internet, I'll tell you one voice that was really loud in my head, and I couldn't explain why. But I felt like it was my grandmother saying, don't you go on that internet acting a fool in front of them white folks.
That's a good one. I like that. Yeah.
And you know what's crazy? I went on there and I also heard my pops, because my pops, you know, even though he's in a very peaceful place, my pops you talking about the riots?
Yeah.
Pops had me down there at the courthouse when they announced it on the megaphone.
Yo.
He had me down there. I was about, was it 93, right? 92?
Yeah, 93, 92, 93.
I'm about 7, 8.
6 or 7.
Bro. They said, the verdict is ended. I remember this. You know why I remember it? Because I'm a little kid in the midst of all these folks here. And the moment they said that verdict, I saw the first trash can go through a gas station.
Oh, so you was in the shit. Like you was in there.
We had to walk back to the car. His pop said, it's funny because he'd tell the story now. He's like, he had his hand on my heart. He was like, that is the loudest I've ever felt a heart. Because I've never seen a riot up close.
Absolutely.
But that was the riot.
That was the one. That's our one.
So when I think about those kind of stories, those are with me. I don't care. Like people, it's crazy when you get into this media space. People want to say things to us, you know, especially when it's and I don't want to single it out, but when it's light skinned black folks,
we're not for sure.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
for sure.
Like
make it plain. Make it plain.
You can't just be mad. You can't just be angry. It's called beige rage. You feel me? Like you can't just be angry.
I don't accept it. I don't accept it. I told you this on your
stream. You can't be articulate because you're talking white. You're like these type of things that came, and I'm like, there's things that you deal with when you're like, I just want to just say the shit. I just want to say it how I'd say it. I heard my grandmother's voice when I first started. And I also heard my pop's voice of like, you know, you got to show an example of our people for people who never see our people except for in music videos, except for like the versions of them that they feel they can judge the most. And so I came in this space saying, all right, I see how my peers are, and this is naturally who I am. I'm going to make sure that y'all not going to come in here and you know, folks from different races call us a bunch of niggas in here.
Yeah.
I'm going to show you that I know as just as much as you about any topic you want to talk about.
Yeah.
That was what driving me. The problem that happened though, I became so hell-bent on that I began to lose myself over the years as an artist. Because the more that I got in there in that media space and the more pointed I got, it was excellent for content.
Yeah, right.
When you're rapping though,
it's not the same.
Hey, say Drake, I heard you like young. You better never come to Cell Block 1. That might work for an intro for YouTube. That ain't gonna work in that battle. There's a certain way that there's a certain bravado, and it's a thing that we love about the music. And so I think a part of me started to kind of lose that, and I didn't even recognize it, and probably until the last 2 months working with my guy Iman Omari, of how much it affected my music. And so my process of getting back to music has been take more jump shots, be more intentional about the work, but make sure that you're not cleaned up so much that it just changes the nature of your music. But then it got me thinking of, fuck that. If that's you in the music, do that in the content.
Yeah.
They know you're not stupid. Don't let the words that somebody is using convince you that somebody doesn't know the words that they're using.
Yeah.
Don't let if somebody's not saying it a certain way. Like I saw somebody that criticized Kendrick for speaking at Compton College. Like, what does he know about it? What does he know about there's professors that could have had that position? I'm like, what are we doing?
I have a whole opinion on that one. That one's crazy.
I'll tell you this though. In an age where we just had a president that was calling out names like corrupt.
Yeah.
The idea of professionalism, I'm not even voting for him, but I'm like, the idea of what professionalism used to be, of how to present yourself, it's just out the window.
It's not the same. Yeah.
I'm seeing
it's gonna look different.
I'm seeing Wendy's tweeting not like us.
Yo, I can just see that old meme.
But
Somebody please make that meme so I can repost it.
But once again, that's because that's you in our generation.
Yeah.
Coming up in the 90s, like, there was a certain way that you held yourself up as a black man. When the movie Malcolm X came out, there was a certain expectation that if you look a certain way, like, I got this cross color, but this is, so I look at this and I fast forward and I'm realizing that even the idea of blackness has evolved so much.
Ooh, say that again.
And I look for that even more so in a different way at 39 than I ever did before. I look at that now and I'm like, no, this is not only just a legacy of myself and my music, but this is a legacy of my name, my last name.
Say that.
This is also a legacy of what were the conversations of black folks at this time, and not just like this segment. What was this segment?
Yeah.
What was the nigga from Carson talking about that moved out and, he's living out close to San Diego now? What was on his mind? He was a content creator. So I say all that to say all of my fears happened. I did become so... There's a movie, bro. It's one of my favorite movies. I know I'm going all over the place. It had Kyle Baxter in it. That's not his real name, but it had Kyle. It's called Living Large. You ever seen that movie?
It's what I think I know what you're talking about.
Kyle Baxter.
Yeah, I have seen it. I haven't only seen it that one time, but
premise of the movie, for those who don't know, he's like straight. He's from the hood. He's having a good ass time. Typical 90s movie. But he wants to be a news reporter. And so he goes to like broadcasting school, and all they do is try to remove the black from him. Yeah. It's ask, not ax. This is an ax. There's like all of that stuff going on, right? And so
my grandma was a stickler on that. She hated when I said that.
Fam, my grandmother hated, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, I say she hated that shit.
She had certain shit like that with me too.
In that movie, it's funny because I feel like in a really weird way, I kind of went through that process where he lost himself, and literally as he saw himself like on the monitors of the cameras, he was in whiteface.
Right.
He was like, no, that's not me. I feel like that's what happens when you are making such a mockery, not even a mockery, when you're making such a point of whatever you thought I was, I'm not like that. Yeah. You end up being not like us. So
I can see how you could put that on the current landscape. Go ahead.
With that said, I had to go through that, and now I'm in a place where it's like I feel more comfortable because I never felt comfortable with suit and tie.
Never have.
But I knew that there was a responsibility that I had as being one of the only black producers in this YouTube space.
Gotcha. Right.
There's an expectation that, I noticed even amongst my peers, they wouldn't question my peers who weren't black they would question about things like who you work with, their credentials. Right. They always question my IQ first.
No, already. That kind of comes with that territory.
But so I felt a necessity to make sure that they saw it in a certain way. But long story short, it affected my music in a way that was healthy. And now it's in a place where I'm making the best music because I feel like it's free from any expectations except for
love it.
Tell Curtis King's story, tell the story of who you represent, tell the story of your people, tell the story of your family, tell it honestly, and make sure it's something that in 20 years, you don't look back and say, I'm embarrassed by, maybe it's outdated, but I'm not embarrassed by the authentic stories I told.
Absolutely. I love that answer. And it actually leads me to, and I'm going to cap it at this last question because I don't want to run out of tape. I know it's digital, but you're coming back into doing music full time, right? Because you said so publicly. I love that especially as you said, you're 39, I'm 38. So seeing somebody, one, make that switch to content creator while still upholding I don't want to say purity, but the reverence that making music from the soul
integrity,
has. Yeah. And then coming back into that full steam, carrying this new information that you have.
Well, you got to understand, I see the content where people are trying to get us up out of here. If you're a certain age and rap, and then get up out of here. We don't want you.
And that's when we have the most poignant stories because we got something now I can really talk about. I couldn't talk about this at 19, 29.
Imagine 50 to 100 years from now, the only stories you're hearing of people whose brains don't fully develop until 25.
Right.
And you're going to let them be the megaphone to what was going on in culture at that time. You mean to tell me that the moment that these brothers got the most intelligent, the most in control of their mental faculties, the most healthy their life has ever been,
speak on it.
They stopped sharing? Right. That's why when I saw my favorite rapper, Andre 3 Stacks.
Thank you for saying it.
When I saw my favorite rapper, 3 Stacks, say that, like, I love his music to death, and I feel like I see him. I want to give him a hug, bro, because I'm like, I feel like he didn't went through stuff he's not speaking about. But I'm like, bro, it was so discouraging to hear that because I'm like, damn. Even as a man, there's a lot of things that we are told to hold back, hold your tears, you got to stand strong for everybody else, and it's like hold strong, tighten up. Also, man, stop all that creating and that rapping. But if you go create any other capacity, if you become a painter. You have galleries and all these different things that are happening. Nobody even thinks about that, right? So I understand the stigma that rap has, but I understand also the effect that the industry has done on that. Yeah. The number it has done on the programming of society. So I look at us as content creators and I'm like, dog, either we cannot do content because we feel like, nah, my music is the only thing that matters by all means, or we can get in these fucking conversations and make sure they're talking about us and representing us right. Because now, I had a big platform that was supposed to do an interview with me, and they canceled the day before. I feel like they brought somebody on that talked about the very same thing that I talked about. I was going to talk about with them, and I kind of felt slighted when I saw that.
I think you brought this up on one of your pages.
I did. I didn't go into no specifics, but I looked at that.
When you
I felt,
brought it up, I was like, oh, let me make sure I schedule this.
No, you're good.
interview
You're
right
good.
now.
But I felt a little slighted because it's like, I feel like I have put my work in, and maybe when I was younger artist, that kind of stuff happens, right?
Yeah.
As an older artist, I don't like feeling like I'm being played off to the side, and then I started thinking, man, fuck them.
Yeah.
You got your own platform.
Right.
If you want to talk to 200,000 people, who better than the people that have already opted in?
That tune in every
tune in already. So now I look at it and I'm like, wait a minute, I can go do the interviews I want to do. That's why I'm here today.
And
I'm doing the interviews that I'm like, do I want to actually sit down with this human? It's not a matter of how big your platform is. Is this going to be a conversation that my son will one day watch back and be like, damn, my pops is on it. I love the energy. Or is it going to be something that it's going to be a 2-hour recycling of things that could have got off of Chat GPT?
No shade. Well, but look, you're taking it to a place. No shade. We're taking it to a place that I really do. And I'm a cap it here,
Sure.
But you talked about people making content and then the content creator space.
Mm-hmm.
Now we are musicians coming into a content creator space,
Right.
And this could take a whole nother turn on this conversation.
I'll
But
keep it short. That's my fault. That's my fault.
No, you straight. No.
Sorry,
This,
everybody.
This is what we hope for.
That's
This is what we hope for. How do you feel about content creators making content music? Again, we've already talked about the reverence that we have for this music that we create.
Mm-hmm.
And as hip hop heads, I don't want to go too deep, but
Sure.
we can get real into like, well, how when they talk about battle testing with Kendrick, like, yeah, y'all obviously ain't done no homework because he went through the battle gauntlet. It wasn't publicized, but he did his work. In this hip hop space, especially our age, we got big homies that we had to run through.
Right.
We had to go into ciphers. My big homie used to pull the microphone from me every time I would practice.
Knock that shit
He
off,
would stand in the front of every show and just cross his arms. Like,
You can tell people who've
Make
never
me
been
move.
booed before. You can tell people who've never been booed
Absolutely.
before. I got booed my first show, by the way, at the Key Club down in the basement, but go ahead.
in the basement,
the basement.
we almost got booed at a Psycho Realm show.
Oh, Lord. Yeah. I went to the Key Club and I went and I saw them. This was back when it was open. They had all the fireworks and everything. I was like, oh, we finna go up today. And they was like, rap? I said, yeah. Curtis King. They said, downstairs.
Damn.
And I went downstairs and it was people who were moving the dirty dishes from upstairs downstairs. The stage was, I kid you not, like the stage was about the size of like a half bathroom. And we were up there and I had my homie on live keys. That's my first show, but that's character building. You need to go through, when you go through that. That's why when people are like, you know, you brought up some names earlier. I don't know if that's this on this segment, but folks who have like crucified my name and said all kind of crazy stuff.
We're going to get into that on this next episode, but yeah.
Like, you think this is something. Remember Daylight said it. He said, I can't stand you cyberbully, people cyberbullying me niggas. He said, how somebody cyberbullying you can log off?
I remember when he said that shit.
He said, what they gonna do, typing you all caps? All caps got you angry?
Right, you got tight because they using
so
emojis.
hurt. You tight because they using emojis. Like, no.
Yeah.
He said, log off, put your phone down. So I come from...
And it's done.
So I come from that, but I'm sorry, I didn't want to...
No, you straight.
Railroad your question.
But no, it's all good. You're in the right mode. So considering all that energy that we put into the music, all that you just said, the getting booed off of shows, the having to go through the gauntlet of big homies testing your pedigree to see if you even deserve to have a microphone. Then you got content creator music, and their given platform is always rap because it don't take that much skill. For somebody like you and me, we know like, nah.
You care.
Exactly. But how do you feel when you see content creators getting into content music? Like, what does that do for you? Or don't do for you?
The same way when I was a younger rapper and I listened to Lil Wayne and he was emerging, and then my OGs was like, the fuck is this shit?
Yeah.
This nigga's giggling on the raps and all of that. Before he really got his, like, his just due.
I know what you're talking
There was
about.
people forget that time period. Like, this is before the lean era. This
Look,
is all of
there
that.
was
Like,
a time where people like myself was sick of Lil Wayne.
I get it. And he got the Guinness World Records for the most features in a year. So I get it. But what I'm saying is, I remember what it felt like to not have a voice or opportunity. So this is my conclusion. Every generation deserves their opportunity to generate their own results. With one added caveat.
Okay.
You learn from the mistakes of the past.
Okay.
Challenge it all.
Okay. Yeah.
Matter of fact, I'm in a place now as a 39-year-old artist where I'm like, how many things am I doing right now that are copying the old laws of the traditional record business? Because there's the record business and there's the music business.
Right.
Right? How many things am I doing, like music videos? I love music videos from an art standpoint, but in terms of a business, how much sense does it make for me to make a 4-minute music video that I'm going to chop up into multiple 30-second clips, put on social media for one song?
Yeah.
When if I got 10 songs on an album, I could feed you up at least 20 pieces of content, 30 if I do the choruses.
Absolutely.
Every single verse now gets a vertical video.
Right.
Choruses now get a vertical video.
And
that's only one verse. That's only one scene.
Right, right.
So when I look at it from that standpoint, I'm like, if the point is trying to, if the goal or the strategy is to bring people off of social media onto your YouTube to get your views to look good in front of somebody else, that model is not our model.
Right.
That model is about vanity. That model is, so the same way that people is talking to me crazy, they talking to them content music, like musicians who are putting content first and then music. You know what? Every generation deserves an opportunity to generate their own results. One requirement: learn from the past. Do not don't discard the past. Don't think that because it's in the past you can't learn from it. Because here's the thing about it that a lot of y'all are recognizing after this Kendrick versus Drake thing. Kendrick said it, and King Kunta, the funk shall prevail. I don't care what era you in. I don't care what new inventions happen. People are already getting sick of some of this AI shit.
Oh yeah,
and it's just hit the streets. Like I look at a caption and I know I smell the chat GPT all over them damn rocket emojis and everything going on there. So if that's the case, one thing that people will never get tired of, there may be periods of time where that's not the focus. People will never get tired of the real, never get tired of the authenticity. So if that's the case, I waited 9 years for this whole thing to come circulate back. Yeah. Now I'm looking around at the landscape and I'm like, I can sell direct to consumer. Yeah. I do have the third party websites that can service my products, my merchandise, my CDs, and it is accessible. It's not busting, it's not a bunch of money to do that. I am living right now. We're in this current time. I don't care whoever's listening. You are living in the easiest time period it will ever be.
Absolutely.
Take full advantage of your freedom, of your autonomy, but do not forget somebody went through some things before you did, so you don't have to go through those. Right? Hov did it, so you ain't had to go through it, right?
Man, so that rings true on so many levels.
So I may not agree with like somebody. I saw Nick D. He's a really big independent artist. He talked about,
and that's probably one of the reasons why I brought it up. Yeah, because he was a content creator first,
and he talked about it. He was like, he'll think of the content first and then make the music. That's not how my brain is wired. Right. But how do I have the right to go tell him how to go make his music when it's like? Weird analogy. I feel like all artists, all producers are cows. We all are giving out milk, right? Yeah. Last thing I need to be doing is trying to figure out or judge you about what you're doing with your milk over there. It ain't none of my business. When you say milk, it make you uncomfortable, don't it? That's what it should be.
Right.
Why are you over there in that man's
in that man's dish?
What was it called? It ain't no antlers. What is that called? The udders. What you over there looking at that man's udders for? So I use them.
Hey yo, I love it. No, that's awesome.
So I say that to make it uncomfortable because it's like, don't lose sight of what you're supposed to be doing here. Yeah. Okay, yeah, you don't like what this person is doing. You feel like he needs to understand the code. Guess what? It's gonna be it's gonna be 30 people right after him gonna do the same thing. Right. All you can do in this point the only thing you really got control over is not how many of those populate. You can make somebody an example. Somebody just gonna be like, I'm gonna be a little bit more sneaky than him. What you can do though is make sure that you show the results of staying solid. Yeah. And so I now am in a place, I've been like this, but I've been in a place where I'm like, I know when I started content creating, peers looked at me crazy, bro. They looked at me like, man, you taking music, what are you doing? Like, this is going to end your career. Fast forward 10 years later, everybody got a live stream. Everybody got a podcast. That's a trip. I don't say that to push my chest out. I say that to say, all I wanted was my opportunity to generate new results. Yeah. And I saw this pattern happen already before. Yeah. It's a beautiful answer, bro. And we could keep going and we will keep going on another episode. But for this one here, I do want to cap it off. Do you have any advice? Matter of fact, I'm going to ask myself, what advice can you give me as somebody who's now getting into this content creator space where I can still retain my artistry just as vibrantly as I would try to put into the content creator space? How you do one thing is how you do everything.
Okay.
Right? So I'm sure you've heard that saying before, but no other time has that rang more true in that if you're going to do content today, make it a content day. Don't even worry about making music that day. If you're going to work on music today, give that like you ain't never had no other profession in content.
I love
now,
it.
I know there's aspects of it. Like this is why I do live streams when I record my music because it's like I don't have
location, right?
Location, right?
Yeah.
When I don't have a content creator that can just be there, not yet, at least.
Right.
So what I do is I just turn the camera on myself and I just create like the kid I would if it was just me. But kills two birds with one stone. So automation has been a big part of how I do this. But I would say for the most part, like try not to, the same way a gym instructor would tell you, don't work on the legs and your and your upper body the same day. Right. It's the same thing with our brains, is that we can't assess the injuries that we're doing to our brains because there's no visual or obvious physical damage that we can assess. So for us, I think it's even more important for us to say, okay, today is a social media scheduling day.
Love it.
Today is a batch content day. That way it relieves not only the necessity to generate the content, but also it relieves the stress I feel of not creating.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, zooming back out to what Salas told me, you're a creator. Today you're just creating again. You create every day.
Yeah.
Yeah, it might not have been, you know what I mean, practicing your syllables and practicing your pattern and all that. Right. It might not have been that. And I get that because at one point in time, we had the ability to do that. However, remember Childish Gambino said this about Elvis. He said, could you imagine if Elvis had modern technology to record, how much more music we would have got, but then also how much better of an actor he might have been?
Yeah, right. Because he would have been able to focus on actually doing some acting as opposed to.
You want some fries going on that?
What did Eddie Murphy say?
What are we, huh?
We're going to win this race.
Oh, no, not like us. Right. What are we doing? Like, so I think we're in a place now where, can you imagine what rappers, not even rappers, artists 40 years ago would have said about, wait a minute, let me get this straight. Y'all ain't got to go through the label for nothing?
Right.
You can press up your own vinyls.
Now where it's like,
what?
Everything is in hand.
It is so
in
easy.
Your cell phone.
I have a business in my pocket.
Absolutely.
If I want to make a flyer, I got Canva. If I want to make a EPK on the way to a meeting, I wouldn't do that.
But it can be done.
If I want to make a flyer to an event that hasn't even happened on the way to the event, I can do that inside of, you know what I'm saying? Instead of traffic. So we're living in a time where because of how accessible it is, it's exciting to some of us, it's overwhelming to others.
Yeah.
But once again, going back to the analogy of the rapper, the OG that's like sonning the younger one.
Yeah.
That energy is necessary in certain situations, but none energy is more important than making sure you got your shit in order. And so that's where I'm at with it. Is like, if I keep being an example, I'm going to attract all the opportunities I could ever want, all I could ever need, and I am.
And absolutely you are. And bro, I gotta appreciate you for coming by today. It's a trip how it actually happened. Like, you know, I was a fan first. I approached as a fan first and randomly just said, so when we gonna make this happen? Like, what are we talking about? what do we make it? Like, cause at this time I got two things juggling. I got my social media presence, the podcast, and then I got my music. So I'm like, I'm glad you said it was on the music because we got that cracking. But like I said, I'd be remiss if I did not ask you to jump on this podcast.
Man, and you know what? One thing I'll add, not even trying to correct you, don't look at those as different things. Justin Hunt from the Company Man, he told me, he was like, every rapper should be doing news on themselves. This is what you're doing. Yeah. You and I are having a conversation, but you being able to share those parts of your story that otherwise, if they don't have any context, might not have gotten brought up.
True.
You're still doing your job as an artist. True. You articulating your thoughts.
Right.
Is you using the same muscle.
Yeah.
With the ankle weight on.
Absolutely.
So when you go down and you write, like, that's one thing I got to say. As much as I said the whole, like, cleaning my speaking diction. Up in my diction. And so, as much as I talked about that being a con, there was also a pro in that I didn't journal, but I did vlog.
Yeah. So now you have documentation.
I have documentation and I have to articulate my thoughts in front of this camera, and I have a certain amount of time before it's too much.
Yeah.
Or I could just keep going. I got a much, whatever my SD card lets me. So
right.
That practice made me a better writer. It made me a more descriptive writer as a rapper.
Honestly, I thought you were going to go too, because doing this, having to, like, I got my script, I got my notes, but there are certain things you're going to tell me that I'm not ready for.
Yeah.
And I got to be able to pivot off of that.
Sure.
And the same thing that you do on your podcast that I've seen you do, where somebody brings something up and you pivot and go with it.
But you
And
know why
how
I
we
can do
string
that?
back.
Because we freestyle.
That part.
You know,
That
I used to
part.
freestyle at the Stonewood Mall. Shout out to when I went to Downey High. It's a Stonewood Mall. Trying to look at two young niggas trying to look at some baddies and rapping in the mall.
Man,
what kind of early 2000 story is that?
That was the way you got a number. Like if you were in the battle and you just kept us, not battle, not even battle, just a cipher and kept it going.
It wasn't no cipher, which is me and him just sitting there looking at like, damn, I she give you EC? EC was eye contact. We thought he was cool. He was like,
I'm not mad at that though. I like that.
Did you get the EC? Yeah, she got me a little EC. Okay. You gonna talk to her? Y'all finna go talk to her. Hold on. Tight shit.
Hey, nobody tight shit. Don't nobody know.
We didn't say that back then, but we would have said it if it was there.
Don't
for sure, dirty. That's what we said.
about-
For sure, dirty.
Hey, what Southern slang St. Louis wannabe was
Chingy.
dirty? Yeah, chingy. Exactly.
Man, that was a Chingy Nelly error.
I appreciate you for coming through,
Appreciate you, bro.
And we got to run this back one more time.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, this was a good one.
Yeah, you mind if I stretch?
Huh? No, we're going to make you stretch because I got to use the bathroom myself. Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tapping into Artistry Ascending. Of course, you know who I am. I'm the meticulously multi-talented Mark W. coming at you one more time yet again. How are you? I got my man's Curtis King. Make sure you follow him on all his various platforms. Like I said, Curtis King TV. He got Critique My Beats, which he might not bring back. I'm sorry to see that go, honestly. Maybe y'all should just spam his comments and say, no, I want to keep playing you my music. And that will change nothing. Make sure y'all get his book, subscribe to his channel, and please make sure you like, share, subscribe right here at Traklife. Until next time, ladies and gentlemen, tap in with me. You know, tap back.
Peace.
Peace.
All of my, I just want all of my chips.